Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zim, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. And my respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Monday, the 5th of April 2021. So this is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. Hello Margaret, hello Emma, and hello everyone, those who are here today. Make sure that you comment something out here so I can I understand that you are here. So I hope Karina is here as well. Whoever have joined, just say something so I know you are there. Kalpana, Sukhiho. Yeah, so today it's a very unusual. Hello Tune, hello Sandra. It's a very unusual day because this is April. Good evening, David. So this is April, the beginning of April, and Easter holiday, and today is Easter Monday. So, hello, good evening, Karina, good evening, Emma, everyone. And yet, we have a snow and so heavy wind. This morning, I drive down to Perth for the ceremony, and it was very scary. It was very scary because of the wind, and it was like 50 miles per hour. There was a moment that I was thinking, probably I have to give up. And this morning when I was preparing, and it was so cold, and my hands were just like freezing. And yet, because I have accepted the invitation to attend that ceremony, and I have to go, so I rushed, cleaning all the windows and snow, and I drove. And there was one occasion as I was looking at the signs, and the wind just blew away, almost kind of an accident. I was, what's going on here? And it was very scary. And as it says that in Scotland you can see 4 weather in a single day, and which is this weekend and today. So we have a snow and an occasional occasional sunshine and a wind. And all 4 seasons today we can experience. And this is the beauty of the center. This the beauty of the center, to understand that nothing is permanent. Thank you, Margaret. Yes, I'm safely back. Good evening, Yvonne, Emma. Yes, we have 4 seasons. When I heard for the first time that how could you have 4 seasons in a day, and I was puzzled. And similar with the now you can change the time, because in Asia we can't see 4 seasons in a day, or even 2 seasons in a day. So it's difficult to see, and then difficult to perceive the concept of it. Meanwhile, when I was studying Buddhist philosophies in the universities, we were taught that time is unchangeable. We can't change the time. And then in 2005, when I came to England and stayed about five months, so at that time it was just early, and the summertime, the time was changed, and I thought, wow, how could you do that? It's impossible. I couldn't believe that. And now it's become very common, and it's like no big deal. time is not the problem anymore for me, because every year there's two changes going on, and it sounds reasonable, and it's just a conventional. So even the time becomes very conventional. Similar way, when I went down to Greenwich timeline for the first time, and I was told that, a time is distributed from here, and I thought, how could you distribute the time to other people, other countries? And there is a line in the south, I think east and west, east and west, and the line defines. And I was invited to stand in both sides, and standing in the exact middle of that time zone, saying that, okay, you are in a middle path, in the middle between the east and the west. So the perception that we all have is very limited by what we learn, what we know, and what we experience. And the perception simply changes. That's right, David. There are even more difficulties to understand all the calendars. New Year's, so many New Years. And again, next week, they're going to be a Songkran, Thai festival, Thai New Year, and which is again coincidentally in Southeast Asian countries like in Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, are also celebrating New Year. Well, so that's why the perception is all what we gain is basically conventional perceptions. And perceptions all conditioned by how we see, how we hear, how we perceived. And when we look at that, the true reality is something else. That's why Easter weekends are always changing every year. And I wonder why we have this Monday morning, and immediately after Easter we have a holiday. Monday is the first day that we should be going to work. According to the Bible, the first day of the work we have to move on and do. But we have holiday, and which we all like it. Yeah? So like that. And we all perceive things. So that's why Buddha's instruction to all of us is that all the books, all the instructions are there only as a signposts. Oh, you went to work. I know you went out when I was teaching, Yvonne. 6:30. Yeah, I heard your car moving. So that's why Buddha's teachings is simply telling that all these the books and learning things are basically signposts towards the destination. And we shouldn't be hanging on to that signpost as the reality, as the fact. That's just the signposts. Or it's like a menu in a restaurant. That's just a menu. It's not the food yet. We have to order it and then get the food. So signpost is simply posting us to walk on that path to the destination. It's like in a center. Our center is here in West Hill, and there is a direction to follow. And if you use the GPS, and GPS will be saying that, oh, now it's a turn right and turn left, and by the a few yards you should turn left, and like that. So these are simply the signposts. And our conventional truth, all the Buddha's these books and written texts and teachings of the different monks and the nuns and the teachers and the masters are basically just the signposts. It's just a food that's there as a menu. And we have to choose. And we have to walk on that path. And eventually, walking on that path, we will arrive. And I think I have referred so many times that one of very famous meditation master, the Dhammakaya meditation master, in which temple I stayed for 7 years in Thailand, his basic teaching is so simple. He simply said that in a worldly life, you have to have a fastest car or vehicle to reach the destination as soon as possible. Whereas in the spiritual journey, you have to know how to stop. The moment when you stop, you have arrived. Yeah? And here stop means stop dwelling into our own perceptions, dwelling into our own knowledge that that's the fact, that's the truth, and holding on to it. So rather than holding on to it and developing this conceit and prejudice, we have to open up ourselves and changing our perception and walking on that path. So stopping from that doing, and eventually we will arrive in the destination. It is called the ultimate truth. So that's why Buddha's teachings can divide into two categories. Number one is called conventional truth, and number two is ultimate truth. Conventional truth is basically about all these tipitakas, all these teachings, is a truth in its own right. It helps us to opens up. It helps us to guide us how to walk on that path. So it's like a signposts. And when we walk on that path, eventually the ultimate truth will be realized. And there was a story that it happened during the time of the Buddha, that a bunch of monks were just traveling from one city to another, and then while they were walking towards the Savatthi, they come across with another group of religious group, and then they asked these venerable monks, the followers of the Buddha, that what purpose is the holy life lived under the ascetic Gautama? And when they were asked by the different wanderers on the journey, they say that it is for the full understanding of a suffering that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One. But despite they have answered that the life that they are living, and which is, again, we have to remember here that our life should be here living in order to overcome our sufferings and problems and difficulties that we are going through. And this what the monks were talking about. Simply the path to liberate ourselves from the suffering that we are going through. And then and they were confused that whether that's true or not. So that's why as soon as they arrived in Jetavana Vihara, where the Buddha was residing, and straight away went and told the story that, Venerable Sir, there were certain wanderers, a group of wanderers came and asked them why we follow this holy life under your guidance. And then we answered them saying that this life is to free from all the sufferings. I wonder whether our answer is right or wrong. And in that case, the Buddha confirms that it is the right answer that you have given. So the path that we are following is basically to overcome our suffering. And when we dive into deeper, what is the suffering? Basically, most of the time, the suffering is because our perception towards things, that how we perceive, and we try to judge and we try to make it as we wish it to be, rather than as they truly are. So this is the path, the freedom, and this suffering. And this is the path called the Eightfold Noble Path. And this again, Eightfold Noble Path is simply a signpost, a conventional truth on its own right. Now we have to walk on that path. And basically making a cause, as I have been referring, that all what we are doing is basically making a cause to be enlightened or to be liberated. It's like you have planted a tree, and you are making simply taking care of this plant, watering it, and then eventually it gives fruit. Like David and Lena have been working in our temple in this kitchen garden, planting and preparing all the soils and planting certain things like garlics and onions and like that, and then I think there will be some carrots as well. If any of you would like to have a small patch to plant something, you can contact David. So he will make one small patch for you and you can plant whatever you like. So it's just making a cause, basically making the beds and making the flower and then planting a seeds, and doesn't mean that all the seeds will come out. So we're simply making a cause for that, and then eventually it will grow, and as it grows, and eventually it's ready to eat, right? So like that, all what we are doing in everyday life is basically we are making a good cause for the happiness towards ourselves, happiness, and changing our perception towards things that we think is we think that is truth. Often we find that's not the truth. I used to think that I have known Buddha's teachings considerably well. But I eventually found, as I've been giving a talk since last year, actually today, I would say that celebrating an anniversary of giving a talks, it helped me to ponder and helped me to reflect my understanding, and I found that how ignorant I was, and how ignorant even I am now. That so many things to be learned, so many doctrines that I don't know, so many discourses that there are so hidden, and even just concentrating on one particular discourse that I thought that I known. But as I dwell into that and investigate in every words and then try to apply in my practice, then you realize, wow, what a wonderful, I never knew before, like that. It's just, enlightening me when as I look at and read it again and again. And not only reading, but also in a practice, as a practice, sitting, meditating, or walking, and reflecting on that. Oh, it's just so fascinating that little things that I think I have known is in fact is unknown. So that's why the perception needs to be changed, that what we think we know is actually we haven't understood yet. It's like a suffering. Now after the Buddha passed away, until now, probably about the 2,000 years, people been questioning, people been arguing, people been criticizing, analyzing, all on the teachings of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths. And this is again about the suffering. What is suffering? Why? And everybody tried to understand it, and is still going on this debate. We know that it is a fact, but it's still going on. So like that things that we think we know, actually we haven't understood it yet. Probably that is the reason why Buddha said that never underestimate the knowledge of the Buddha, that how much he know. So that's why he gave a simile of a handful of leaves picking up from the woodland and telling to the monks, saying that between the leaves in my hands and this forest, which one is more? And obviously forest has got more leaves. So then the Buddha said that similarly, things that I have known is like leaves in this forest, and things that I have told or thought is like a handful of these teachings. And yet it's so vast. So vast. But one thing what we have to remember here again, that all these teachings were not compiled by one single monk. All these teachings were recited by few monks and then accepted by the council, those who were contemporary monks during the time of the Buddha. And that's how this has been compiled, which is very different compared to any other religious holy books. Even the Bible was written by each individual, 4 people, 4 saints, and then Quran. So these are only single people's writing, whereas the Buddha's teachings, or which is compiled into the Tipitaka, is not a single person's job. It's compiled by a collectively in a council, by someone who is reciting that, thus have I heard. I have heard while the Buddha was living in such and such places, to teaching this and this person, and then taught this. And it was confirmed by other monks, those who were at present those places. So that's how the whole teaching's been compiled. And yet these teachings are simply a conventional truth. Conventional truth. And I think a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, we were having a discussion by the fire. I think it's Yvonne asked me about it, and I mentioned that translations are always different. When I read the translations of the all the discourses, and each and every translators are translating very differently according to their language capability and also their understanding, and how deep they have Pali language, understanding of the Pali language, and then how deep they have understood the teachings, and how good their language, the translation language they have. And further on, not only that, how deep they have understanding, and then not only the deep understanding, but how much they have experienced. So with that, the teachings been transmitted to us. So that's why it's a very, very important that we have to test it by ourselves, putting into practice and understanding that the perception that we think that I know actually is just probably a few percent or half, 50% of it, rather than a fullest 100% understanding. And this is the path that the Buddha was talking, that we have to change our perception from the perception of the reality that we think is the reality, but understanding the true reality through the study, practice, and investigation, and particularly the experiential level of understanding. And that level of understanding is called a pativeda, the result of the true knowledge that you acquire by the true experience. And that is the ultimate truth. This is the second factors of the Buddha's teaching. So I went here for tonight, a little bit heavy topic, although I started with a little bit of a smooth, but ending with a very heavy headed. So I hope that it helps you to clear some of the understanding about the teachings and encourage you to practice meditation for furthermore to real understanding of the teachings. With this, I end here for tonight's reflection. May you all be well and happy. May the Buddha Dhammasangha bless you, and in a few moments' time we are going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You are most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and see you shortly. Thank you everyone for all the comments and all the engagement. Satu.